Hey, Dweehouse here. We're going to do 30 minutes of quick oil sketching on one of the Inktober prompts. We started with Inktober prompt 1 for Crystal, and we're going to pick up where we left off. We've just been doing short little 30-minute segments each day, and the idea is to build up our oil painting technique. Now, Photoshop comes with like 2,000 brushes that you can download for free, and you can use them to emulate the look of oil painting. And although I've seen lots of tutorials that kind of explain them generally, categorically, or do like live speed painting, there's very few things where someone is actually teaching the process while just going through the long, hard work of experimenting with all the brushes. So that's what we're going to do. We've been trying to use a different paintbrush every day and trying to figure out how to emulate this look of oil painting. So let's see what we're working on. Here we are. This is the Inktober prompt Crystal. We just started out with a quick pencil drawing, and I turned it off. There it is. Okay, and then from the pencil drawing, we scrubbed in. We used a free paper texture from Kyle Webster that he gave out. You can find that and download it. And then we scrubbed in some white background as well as some kind of gray shadows on the ground. And let me see if I can move that up a little so you can see. So there's our gray shadows on the ground. Okay, just like you would do kind of with like a real oil painting. Again, we're using Photoshop, but we're trying to emulate the feeling of using real oils. And generally, we're working on one layer for the most part. So what we did next was put in some crystals. And this is the crystals that we've been painting a little bit on each day. So, and actually, we experimented a little bit yesterday with 2 layers. So let's go ahead and merge that down. Command E to do that. That merges 2. And I am keeping my background on a separate layer. Let me see if I can bring up chat so I can see who and all's here. Feel free to introduce yourself, say hello, and let me know where you're coming from. Got too many screens happening here. I'll have to look over my shoulder for chat, I guess. So if I don't see you immediately, just be patient with me. Otherwise, welcome to the show. So let's go ahead and get started. Normally I bring my chat up on the screen in front of me so I can see it easier. See, got to be organized. Okay, so what we were doing was we were just using the Lasso Tool. So that's Command, well, actually, yeah, I'm not going to be able to watch chat at the same time. Too distracting. Okay, so L is the Lasso Tool. And we're just going to block off a section of this so that we can work safely kind of without interfering with the rest of it and yet still remaining on one layer. So as much as possible, I'm trying to emulate kind of a plain air sort of quality, which I know is a total oxymoron with digital painting, but nevertheless, I'd like it to have that quality of spontaneity and kind of like an impasto quality. And some of that we're gonna draw out of it as we get going. But we've been working with the light coming in from this top direction, and so we can really kind of do whatever we want. Now remember, what we've been experimenting with is not just the normal brushes, but we've been using the mixer brushes, which work totally differently. And instead of these color swatches up here, we're gonna use a color swatch that allows us to load the paintbrush with multiple colors at once. So in Kyle Webster's Mega Pack that you can download for free, there's all of these paintbrushes in his paint box pack, but down here at the bottom there's a section called Real Oils, and you'll notice these don't have just the plain paintbrush icon, they're this mixer brush icon. So when I select these, let's use, yesterday we used Cake Brush, the day before we used Bristly Bob. Let's try something new and different today, because I keep trying to work through different ones. I'm really tempted to go back to what I know because that allows me to work the fastest. But really the whole point of this series is to work through different brushes and kind of figure out together how they work. And hopefully you can learn from my mistakes here and we can pick, let's try this goodie. I've had my eye on that one for a while, okay? So now you'll notice I have a different color swatch up here on the top left, and when I color pick, I have my bottom button here on my stylus set as the eyedropper, and the top one is undo. So when I eyedropper this, you'll notice wherever my cursor is, it's going to change into the eyedropper, and then I'm going to get that, and see it's a blended swatch. It's not just a single color. You can see it's got like streaks of red and stuff. Just like with a real paintbrush, if I had a palette and I mixed my colors on my palette, I would get multiple like streaks of color in my paintbrush. So that's the same thing that's happening when I load this way. So let's see what we got. If you use your space bar, you hold your space bar, it'll temporarily turn your brush or whatever into a hand, and we can move around. Let me leave this open at the same time, and you guys can see, and I can work. Now I don't like having these dancing ants on here, but I do need that selection to lock in where I'm going to paint. So I'm going to hit Command H to lock that, and then we're just going to start with a real base kind of a color. Oh, now see this goodie? Can you see that? And this goodie has like a lot of canvas, heavy canvas texture built into it. And I don't know that I really want that. Can you see that on your end? Let me zoom in on it so you can see. See that canvas texture? That's cool. That's really cool if I wanted canvas texture, but I don't know that I want canvas texture at the moment. In any case, we'll continue to play with it because I promise we do different brushes every day. And if you're just joining us, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Trying to keep my eye on the chat at the same time as I'm working. Oops, hold on a second. I'm in a meeting. Yeah. So sorry about that. We're going to go ahead and try to lay in this next color. And what I want is some dark here. This texture may not bother me as much as I thought it would, because it's going to all end up blending together anyway. Take some of this white up here. Yeah, you guys are my meeting. I'm in Central Time, so it's after 5. So this is my time now. My time with you. And, you know, there's a certain amount of accountability to painting every day. You know, I got other things I got to do. I got to run off today. I got to be in a big hurry. We won't be running late tonight like I do sometimes, because I definitely have got to go today on time. But part of the commitment of just creating is making sure you do it a little bit every day. I'm really not feeling this brush for this particular technique. I could see why this is a cool brush for certain things you might want to do, but I'm not feeling it for these crystals. For these crystals, I kind of want a really smooth kind of quality, and I don't really feel like I got that. So we might actually have to change brushes. Let's try, I mean, but that's good. So we can note to self, Goodie has a lot of texture, a lot of canvas texture in it. So, I mean, I don't know what these are going to look like either, but we'll see. This could work. I don't ever like to paint with pure white. I always want to have it tinted out a little bit. And you can see how these real oil brushes just are constantly blending together. They're always picking up one color. You can even see, if you watch my swatch up here, you can see that it's getting kind of contaminated, if you will, with the other colors as I paint over them. Because just like a real paintbrush, if you painted it wet over wet, you'd get those colors. I don't want to overwork this. I kind of feel like I'm already headed in that direction. So I might pull up just a little pure white just to hit this corner with. It's going to blend in anyway, so it's not going to be too pure. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So I remember we have this selection. Let's go Command D and then L for new selection. I usually work the largest facets of the crystal first, and then go back and work the smaller facets last. And honestly, if this wasn't crystals, I would use the same technique. So I would work out the biggest sections of the painting and then work my way down to the more sort of fine detail sections of the painting. So again, we're going to start with a medium color, something like this. And let's go back to escape, B for brush, eyedropper that. And the size of your brush determines the area that you're going to pick up. So I have a kind of a big brush, so I'm going to be picking up kind of a big swatch. So eyedropper, and let's just paint this in. No, I don't just go and paint it all in or use the fill commands, because I want it to have a painterly quality, and I want that base underneath to be kind of built up and sketchy. And you can see I'm even picking up paint from the edges of where my selection overlaps. I really want this one to be bright and kind of dark, because it's going to be a little bit more in shadow. You can pick up, I have some purples up here in this big crystal. You notice I'm working kind of from front to back. And I started with the darkest crystals in the back, and I'm working forward to lighter crystals, but I can still pull colors from these. So let's pull like a little bit of this purple and just hit that in there just a little bit. Nice. Some of this is happy accident, you know, and that's fine. If it was real oil painting, you know, you're not going to have complete control over how everything blends. You just work with it. And I want all this sort of refracted light and inclusions to be happening. I left my ants on this time, so Command H, see what that looks like without them. You see I had a little gap there. Get that filled in. I'm going to come in with a little bit more super bright. And just kind of stab, brush that in, just like you would with real paint. Zoom in, find our facets here. Now as I do these final little facets, I do want to have this be fairly accurate. Before it didn't matter so much. So we'll go ahead and lasso, because I could just overlap whatever I was doing before. But now I gotta finish it off. And I think I'm going to carry this as the light kind of wraps around the corner here. I'm going to make it darker. The beauty of this as a practice painting, if you want to learn how to do oils, doing something like this is very geometric, very graphic, so it's pretty easy in that regard in terms of your drawing abilities. But also it's because it's got so much inclusions of light and reflections of light, you can kind of do anything you want with shadows and color, and no one's going to say it's wrong, because who could say it's wrong? You know, there's all kinds of weird stuff happening with the way the light's bouncing around. I'm going to grab back to B for brush, grab this super bright color up here as my base, and I kind of want to swirl in some lights and darks. And let's try Illustration King. He's got 2 of these. See how this responds. Very intense. Yeah, and let's get some white. And some darks, purpley darks. I got a really nice blend between black and blue up there, so. All right, deselect, lasso, L. Now, I don't think I have quite enough definition between these 2 facets. So Command-Shift-D will reselect my last selection. Command-H hides that, and I can see those dancing ants are getting in my way. It was hard to tell if I had enough contrast. But now that they're gone, I can really see that I don't have enough contrast. So we'll go back to B, pick up some paint over here. Make this a little more intense. And I think I'm going to really highlight this business in here. Open bracket makes my brush smaller. And then I think I want to go give myself some counteracting streaks of red. Yeah. Alright, I think that's cool. Now let's deselect, Command D, lasso, which is L, Command plus is zoom in, close off these facets. I like doing these because it's fast, right? Don't forget to say hello. Thanks for joining me, and you know, share me with your name is and who you are and where you're from. Or is anybody else working on Inktober stuff, either in black and white? I've been posting all my black and white stuff on Instagram, but this painting I just thought would be a fun thing to practice with and have it be timely and based off of Inktober. So Command H to hide, B for brush. It picks up automatically with the brush that we just had. And this time, we've got some dark stuff happening here. We got some light stuff here and light stuff here. Let's do, again, a medium tone to start out with. Let's go, I had that brush real small for earlier, so let's go big. I have to say, I might like it just like that. I might not do anything else to it. Maybe try to get a little more darkness in here. And some more of this kind of purpley. Alright, Command D. I'm just going to wing it here without a... Make my brush a little smaller. Pick up some of this purple. Let's go a little darker. Now you can control this with you're controlling pressure and flow. Your load, depending on what your settings are in here, and all of this tip shape stuff is controlling this. What's nice is that you don't necessarily need to know any about that. You can just come up here and say load or get more brushes, and you can load up this whole list that Kyle Webster's already built for us in Photoshop. So he's already done all the hard work of trying to figure out how these all work, and now our job is just to figure out which ones do which in this big hot mess of stuff. So I really want to add a lot more light on this front facet, because there's all this light coming in from up here, and it's going to be hitting this, I think, with a lot more intensity. So let's pick up some of this white, and then I'm going to add some reflected light up here. And I've been adding both a dark shadow like this on these lines right here, as well as a highlight on the facet edges. So I think I'm going to do that too. I'm just going to have to decide where I want it. I think in this crease, I want it. And I think maybe add just some cherry red in the transition. And maybe some more of this dark right under this edge. And I want this to have a hard edge, so I'm just going to re-lasso that really quick. It doesn't have to be a perfect selection because I'm not doing the whole facet. B for brush. And just And mix in some cherry red, some purple. The quiet bunch tonight. Thanks for joining me though. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and that's my normal painting night when I do a large format illustration. It's 18 by 24. We've been working on that for a while. These other nights of the week I've been trying to just do something as a quick sketch and really just kind of trying to build speed, because if you're going to do this for production, you're going to have to be able to go way faster than what we've been doing so far. So that's the goal of the through the week kind of sessions. And the Wednesday, Thursdays, we don't care. We're just taking as much time as we need. So feel free to come back and join me Wednesday and Thursday night. So you can option click with the Lasso Tool and that will erase a section. So now I can come back with B with brush and paint in some of this other color that I want back here. I don't know. I might experiment with this more as I transition. Let me grab some of this dark purple up here. I really like the occluded light that comes out of the bottom of this crystal, so I'm going to keep that. I think all the rest of this though is going to be fairly dark. This brush that I'm using at the moment has a lot of built-in textures, and so it's kind of slow and laggy, so that might be a good reason for us to switch here in a minute, or when we start up again tomorrow. So that's not my tablet's fault. Okay, I think I'm good with that. Let's see how much time we have left. I want to only do 30 minutes, so we got about 5 minutes left. So let's see if we can do one more facet. These facets should be pretty easy because they're so small. In fact, let's start with like the darkest one first. Just maybe that one. And Command H to hide, and come in with a median color, B for brush. Your eyedropper won't work unless you're in the right tool. And I'm going to make it big. And this brush doesn't follow my hand. So see, when I rotate my hand, the brush stays fixed. It's not actually following me, following the contours. So in this case, I am going to go back. So we've been using Illustration King. I'm going to go back to what we used a couple days ago. This bristly bob, see that? It stays with me. See how it actually turns and rotates? So this allows me to do directional brush strokes. So this is why we're doing this. We're doing this because it's the hard work of actually trying to figure out how these work. When you watch a speed painting, you don't know how they chose what they chose or why they chose what they chose. They're just doing it, and it doesn't necessarily make any sense. So we're trying to figure this stuff out. Okay, let's do the next facet. I think I'm done. Let's not make it more complicated than it needs to be. So let's deselect, and we'll just work our way around. This one, we're going to make it a little lighter because there's going to be light shining in here. This is going to be totally lit up, and then there's going to be light that's like exiting out of the crystal out of the other side. So let's pick again a median color, B for brush. We'll select something like this, and bring in a little bit of this lightness. Because, what do you think? What are your thoughts, guys? Thanks for joining me for our 30-minute time here. I want to make it useful for you and for me. I found that working through these things together keeps the pressure on. You know, if I'm working alone a lot of times, I get kind of stuck in my own head and kind of get bogged down and trying to obsess over stuff. And having, 300 people watching puts the pressure on to make some progress. I'm going to put in, let's use this cake brush, make it a little smaller. I'm just going to put in like a weird little shine here, why not? I think. See, this brush has a lot of texture in it too. Trying to keep my eye on the chat, but you guys are all quiet, so I guess it doesn't matter. But I don't want to ignore you. All right, I think I'm good. Turn this off just to double check. Yep, one more facet. And this facet's going to be the brightest, it's catching the most light. So back to the lasso is L. Oops, I did it in the wrong spot. Hit escape and I can do it again. All right, Command H. And I'm going to come up here and grab some of this bright white B lasso. Got like 2 minutes, running against the clock. Make my brush bigger, that's close bracket. I kind of like that shine right there with that showing through. What's showing through right now is gray. It's the gray of the background. What I'm going to do is I make it be a red showing through. But in order to do that, I got to actually cheat here and make a second layer. This is why, I keep saying it over and over again, start with the base color. See, if we'd started with the base color, we would have had red under there in the first place. I'm going to take this bright, bright red and paint it under there and see what we get. I guess it would help if I got some red. Yeah, okay. Nice. Nice. Deselect. And let's merge these down. Remember the finger command? Command E. Just scrub this in. Scrubbing. I feel like I'm Bob Ross. Just happy little scrubbing. Happy little scrubbing. I never would have thought I'd be doing anything that reminded me of Bob Ross, but here we are. And I'm all using the same brush. I'm just controlling its size and its intensity by the pressure. Just like you were doing a real oil painting, you wouldn't be changing brushes every 5 seconds. I mean, you might, but probably not. There's a limit to how many brushes you're going to carry around. Just size and pressure. So we're out of our 30 minutes, guys. So let's see what we got. Like zoom out, Command minus. You know, basically like every night when I work on this, when I step back, where'd it happen to my mouse? Every night when I step back, there's the button I'm looking for. Every night when I step back, I'm like, oh, that looks awful. And then I come back to the next morning, I'm like, actually, that looks amazing. So, you know, we're always our harshest critics. And, you know, with kind of digital media emulation, the hard work is just the experimentation, being willing to get out of your comfort zone and trying different brushes, seeing what happens, experimenting. Right now, I'm working all on one layer because I'm trying to really emulate that quality of digital painting as if it was traditional painting. And in traditional painting, I'd have only one layer. But there's no reason you can't have multiple layers, separating things out. And on Wednesdays and Thursdays, when I'm working on the large format illustration, that one I will break out and have things on multiple layers. The background's on its own grouping, the characters are in their own grouping, the people, the foliage, everything's separate. So anyway, I'll see you tomorrow between 6 and 9 Central Time. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for joining me. Lost my mouse. Where did it go? It's the hardest find thing.